I was on the way to looking like my father, who'd lost all his hair. Now, what's happened with me and my immediate colleagues is we've recognized in ourselves that we were causing our own hair loss by means of our own lifestyle and what we were doing. So what we've learned is how to reverse that process, and we like it. And we're spreading the message. We're not, I guess I would say, ever selling people their hair back. What we're doing is much more making them aware that such an opportunity exists. I know that I'm going to have a full head of hair. I don't know the exact date of when that's going to come, but I know, I'm absolutely convinced. And I've now personally seen over 250 people growing hair back, and I think the evidence we have is massive.
1521 County Sound Radio.
At 3:31 with Peter Stewart on County Sound across Surrey, Sussex and Hampshire as well. I'm joined in this part of today's programme by Andy Bryant, who's the inventor of a new system of, well, essentially standing on your head to promote the growth of your hair if you're going bald, and also the managing director of the system which he set up, or the company which runs the system, Woking Man, David Clark-Wilson. Can you just lean forward a bit?
Certainly.
Because, I mean, there's still quite a bit of shine there, is it? You've used wash and go, you washed it and it went, obviously. Is it coming back? You say it is.
Yes, it is. I've got my pictures when I actually started here. I've been on the programme for about 18 months. So it's really a question of addressing why one's losing one's hair, following a programme. The programme's called SIDES, which stands for Stress, Inversion, Diet, Exercise and Shampoo. So it's really much more about we cause our own hair loss because of our lifestyle, and we can get our hair back by changing our lifestyle.
Right.
I didn't believe it at the start either, but I was a complete shiny bald Friar Tuck, and I've now grown something like 75% of it back, and it carries on growing every day.
How are you selling this to people?
The system is being put out through independent distributors because the size of the market in the UK is enormous. There's some 8 million people in the UK.
So is this what people call pyramid selling? Is that the idea?
No, it isn't. Pyramid selling has been outlawed in this country.
It's been outlawed. Right, so how would you describe this system?
We describe it as word-of-mouth marketing. We're allowing people to introduce the product to friends of theirs. With something like growing your hair back, it's very difficult for your friends not to notice. So we've decided to use an approach of word of mouth so that someone can merrily go away, grow their hair. If they want to become a distributor, can be trained to become a distributor.
If you like, the Hair Growers Club will be supported by Hair Growers News, and although this was issue 1 and a fairly minimal effort in some ways, it was in 2 colours on the outside covers, nearly 4 pages. There's a massive stride forward for the next issue, which is in fact November, where this is only a very rough of course, but we're going to full colour on the outside.
I think you've probably all seen the copy of the book. I see it being massive, and the book publishers are talking about selling an awful lot of these. And when you start getting into the Smiths and the Menzies of this world, this is $6.99. We don't talk about selling one of these, we talk about selling, thousands of them. So I see it making a big difference. So as a distributor, it's probably the best tool that we've ever had and ever got. I mean, in this country, we're trying to address 1% of the thinning population. That's about 80,000 people. So that means that in business terms, we're trying to address something like a £24 million market in the UK. We're also now involved in commencing discussions with Australia and with Canada, and we will look at this being a UK world product.
Anybody that's ever been unfortunate enough to see my original photographs, which you're welcome to take a close look at, will realise that I had a pretty serious stress problem about 15 months ago. The programme actually came along at a nice time for me. I'd already made the decision in principle that I wanted to do something about my stress management. Lo and behold, after 3 months, so I was a bit slow to start, my hair started growing back. And since then, my previously very thinning crown, which again you're very welcome to take a good look at, is now fairly close to being complete. I'm very proud of it.
I don't have any medical qualifications. I've trained to be a hypnotherapist. That's the only area which you could argue is entering into the medical world. My background was a financial one and not a medical one. And I think it's for that reason that I've come up with the answer, because I'm not restricted in the areas that I research. Had I been trained medically, I would have been trained to look down the route of male hormones affecting the follicle, and I wouldn't have looked outside of that.
it was great to start going on the program using the inversion, looking at my diet, and I never ate fruit before, and it was interesting to start eating fruit and discover what that's like. But I was also, one thing that had a big impact on me was when I did the banker, and I found that all the things that were going on with my digestion were the same sort of thing that caused the death of my father at 63. And that was a shock, that I realized at the age of 30, at the age of 31, I had all the sort of things that were or could possibly lead to colon cancer. I spent about 3 or 4 weeks just in a state of total shock about that. What am I going to do? Now I know at least there is something that I can do, and that's just maintain the program. I'm now starting to grow hair. I've got much fuller, thicker hair than I've had before. That's it.
There is absolutely no scientific evidence to support the claims that they're making. I'm sure they're extremely successful commercially and financially. We're yet to see any obvious scientific studies. We're talking here about a physiological process that over the years very, very slowly progresses, that you lose more hair very gradually and see more scalp. The idea that something psychologically could reverse a physical process is stretching the realms of possibility too far.